And my amplified unit, salute! Welcome to the Amped Up Podcast, Friday, August 11th, 2023. I, of course, will be your host with everybody saying BC Amplified. Yeah? We got a packed, stacked, and jacked show for you today. We're gonna talk Paul Levesque McMahon getting a DOS boot from the Board of Directors. Now, some of the wrestling world is crying hysterically about this. They think it's more sabotage to poor Paul Levesque McMahon. How much more can he handle? The old bastard in Stamford is really sticking it to him. However, they're not understanding how this works. This is business. This is not the WWE Board of Directors, which is what Paul was on. This is TKO now. And there's no reason under the sun that Paul Levesque McMahon would bypass others that should be on that board. We'll go over it. We'll go over some of the names, and we'll go over why this is actually the best possible outcome for WWE, especially if you really love Paul Levesque McMahon. This is literally best for business that he is not on the board. Maybe not for his wallet, maybe not for optics for him, but it's best for him in business in the long run. We'll go over it. We'll go over everything. BC has it all here in this podcast for you. We're going to break down the business side of it and why this was done. We're also going to discuss more injuries in WWE. Two big names. One of them is a current champion. One of them is just legit, just a huge name. And they add an already laundry list of injuries in WWE. The list of injuries in WWE rivals that of a CVS receipt. It's pretty long. We'll go over the two big names that are now reportedly out of action. We're going to talk AEW's Kenny Omega. His potential matchup for All In looks to be set. Is it going to reach your expectations? Is this what you envisioned for Kenny Omega for an event like All In? Some people say absolutely. This is awesome. And other people are going to say, we couldn't have done better? This is Kenny Omega. We'll talk about it. Sticking with the AEW, I have the Dynamite Rating for you. Not too good. And I'm not just talking in terms of week to week, like last week to this week. I'm talking year to year. Last year at this time, what they pulled. This year, just 16 days away from All In and 23 away from All Out. This number is highly concerning for Tony Khan and AEW, but we'll talk about it. We're going to talk Bray Wyatt closing in on a return, but just how severe his absence truly was. We'll talk about that as well, and a lot more. I got the super chat, super thankses from yesterday's podcast, which was, you guys came amplified, chucking coffees at the channel. We'll go over those shout-outs for sure. JR9's NXT report and review from this week. Haven't read a word of it. Can't wait to do that in this podcast as well. That's what I mean when I say it's packed, it's stacked, and it is indeed jacked. So there's nothing left to do other than a couple of things. Of course, number one, smash that up on your way in. Helps BC know you're fully amplified for today's Amped Up podcast, and it helps the algo. And the second thing, grab your beverage of choice. For BC today, we're popping off with the cold coffee. We're doing the mocha frappuccino from the fine folks at Starbucks. Whatever your beverage of choice is, make sure it's either really hot or ice cold. The earbuds are locked in position, and we are ready to get amplified. I tell you, we just started the cold open teaser, and we're pretty much done with the coffee. The podcast hasn't even started yet, and we're done with the coffee. They make them too small. Say, BC, you drink 20 coffees a day. That's not good. Well, then make them bigger. I'd probably still drink 20. I don't know. We'll think of something. Let's get right into the big story of the day. Paul Levesque McMahon das Boot from the Board of Directors. And a portion of the wrestling world is enraged, right? They feel that the old bastard in Stamford continues to sabotage the poor victim that is Paul Levesque McMahon. They feel like the company continues to pile on poor Paul Levesque McMahon. And he cannot surge like the flying eagle he's destined to be. I don't know. There's a portion of the community that just defends everything Paul Levesque does. He can do no wrong, and he needs all the keys to the kingdom, like he's the saving grace to WWE. I don't know. It's very weird. It's very weird how Paul Levesque McMahon gets that much praise for doing so little. But black and gold, Dusty's kids on Vince McMahon's dime. And he got to fly in on a jet every now and again and give the hoorah speeches. But hey, he had those years, and because of that, he needs to be running everything. Okay. I see it a little differently. I do see Dusty Rhodes creating NXT. I do see Vince McMahon footing the bill and never making a dime. And I do see somebody marrying the boss's daughter skyrocketing to the position he's in. That's what I see. Hey, what can you say, man? To each their own, the eye of the beholder. But here we are. He's removed from the board of directors, or so people think the story goes. Not the case. Guys, he was on the WWE Board of Directors. That's it. The WWE Board of Directors. He should be thankful and grateful every single morning he wakes up, goes to bed, and every minute in between that he got a seat at that table to get the Board of Directors in WWE, especially with what they're trading at. And this guy gets to be one of the honchos. He was just a wrestler. You don't see Mark Calloway, not Paul Calloway. Or Logan Paul. Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. You don't see The Undertaker having a seat at the table of the board of directors. You don't see Stone Cold Steve Austin or Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels. You see none of them at that table, the board of directors for WWE. No. You say, well, Paul Levesque always wanted to be attached to the business, even when he was done being a wrestler, BC, so it's not that far-fetched to think that he wouldn't have been in that position anyway. Are you kidding me? Yes, it would be. It absolutely would be. That at this stage in his career, he would have already had Jim Ross's position. He would already be head of creative. He would already have a seat at the board of directors. And you think none of that has to do because he was the son-in-law of Vince? Come on, man. Think, guys, think. But if you needed any more reassurance that that's the case, just look at this new merger, which is more like a sale, because for $9.3 billion, 51% of all these assets are now owned to Endeavor. They have 51% of the control, I should say. So Vince McMahon, for the first time ever, now has somebody that he has to go to and say, hey, I'd like to do this if you don't mind. 51% is now in Endeavor's court. So you can call it a merger, yes, but this is a sale of WWE on the outskirts. $9.3 billion this thing is worth. And now you have a bigger responsibility. You're not just WWE's board of directors anymore. You are now TKO's board of directors. This is a whole new board, guys. If this was just WWE's board of directors, no matter if you think H stomped on people too often and was shady on his way to get to that seat at the table of the board of directors, or you think he did it justified, him removed, yes, you could then say, wow, that ain't right. Why did poor Paul Levesque get removed from WWE's board? That's one thing. That's not what happened. WWE has merged. They've sold. And now because Endeavor is putting the UFC with WWE and all these other conglomerates under the banner of Endeavor, TKO is now born. And this is the TKO Board of Directors. It's not WWE anymore, guys. A lot of people lost their seat at the table. Paul is not a victim here. I want to give you a quote before I break this down even further to show you that this is actually best for business if you're Paul Levesque in WWE. And for TKO. But let me tell you how we got there. It's not like Vince just gets to pick 11 board members. No, it doesn't work that way. Here's a quote how we get there from Endeavor. Under the terms of the transaction agreement, upon the completion of the transactions, the new board will consist of 11 members who will be determined prior to the closing, 5 of whom will be selected by WWE, of whom 2 will be members of the WWE management team. 1 automatically will be Mr. McMahon, Vince McMahon. And then 3 others picked by WWE will be independent. And then 6 of whom will be selected by Endeavor, of whom 3 will be members of the Endeavor management team or Endeavor's directors, 1 of whom will be Mr. Emmanuel, Ari. And then 3 independent. So let me break that down. Let's go back to the 5 that are going to be picked with WWE, okay? 5 names. They said 5, 2 will be of management, 3 will be independent. The 2 is already picked for management, and that's justified. Obviously, Vince and Kennedy McMahon. Obviously. He's here for one main reason only, get the biggest financial income that this business has ever seen in the new TV rights deal. That's what they're going for. Whether it goes streaming, they re-up on cable, Vince McMahon is back to make a ship full of cash. He's not going anywhere. So, of course, Vince McMahon has the one of the 2 management seats. The second of the 2 would be Nicholas Khan. Nick Khan, the right-hand man of Vince, because he's a financial genius. He just is. He was a big sports agent guy before he even got to WWE. And he rose to the ranks really fast because he had a mind, an inkling for the business, and he created a lot of cash for himself and others. So Nick Khan clearly has to be on this board because he's the best person for the job. Whether you like him or not, that's another story. But the dude knows his shit and he knows how to create a lot of cash. He's somebody you would want on a board, Nick Khan. Way before even a Stephanie McMahon or even a Linda McMahon. Sadly, my boy Shane McMahon. Sorry. Nick Khan has to get that second management seat. Now, WWE has 3 other seats now, independent. Now, some people say that opens the door possibly for Paul Levesque McMahon to still be on the board. You'd have to shuffle some stuff around because it clearly states the management can only have 2 spots. Paul Levesque is still considered a management role, especially with his creative content officer title. And he also wears other hats in that company as well. So they could see that as a loophole they're not willing to let slide. So not so fast that Paul Levesque can still be. He can, but they'd have to shuffle around a lot with what Paul is doing in WWE for him to get that 3rd spot because technically he is management and it has to be independent. So I know some people are saying, okay, 1 name. The other 2 have already been picked, by the way. I'll go over that. So it's actually only 1 name left that WWE has to pick, and that's why people are holding hope that it could be Paul Levesque McMahon. It's highly doubtful, but possible. If it is, they have to move a lot of things around because Paul Levesque cannot continue to do business like he does in WWE, and that would hurt WWE, right? A lot of fans, they want to see more Paul Levesque on Monday nights, even though Paul Levesque has said he doesn't know how to run Monday Night Raw. 3 hours is too much, and then he's got to go and try to handle Friday Night SmackDown. You know, this isn't 1 hour anymore on the WWE Network with NXT, and then you put together a little 5-match takeover, and everybody is talking about how awesome you are. No. This is big boy shit now, and it's clear that, you know, sink or swim, a lot of these shows, Paul Levesque is just trying to stay afloat. So you say, okay, well, BC, how does the other 2 that were picked go before Paul Levesque McMahon? I'm glad you asked. Let's go over the other two, right? They have 5 seats that WWE picks. 2 of them is management, Vince, Nick Khan. 3 independent. 2 of them already filled. 1 of them, Stephen Koonin. Who is Stephen Koonin? He is a former CEO of the Atlanta Hawks NBA franchise and a former president of Turner Networks. Turner Networks. The whole that's a bunch of stations. An NBA franchise. This guy led all of that. You don't think that's more qualified than Paul Levesque McMahon? You gotta remember, this isn't just WWE that he'd be overseeing. He's overseeing all of TKO's endeavors. No pun intended to the actual banner name of Endeavor. But it's not just UFC. I mean, there's so many other things this board now has to account for. Paul Levesque will be the first to tell you he doesn't know anything about all the UFC a little bit, pro wrestling a lot a bit, and anything else they bring into the fold or is already there, Paul Levesque will have his tail between his legs, running for the corner. Don't pick me, don't pick me. Steve Koonin wouldn't be before Paul Levesque McMahon? Absolutely he would. The second of the 3 independents, Nancy R. Tellum, is a chief media officer and executive chairwoman of EKO Media Conglomerate and former president of Xbox Entertainment and Microsoft and former president of CBS Network Television Entertainment Group. It's a laundry list. It rivals that of a CVS receipt. How accomplished this 70-year-old woman is, Nancy Tellum, CEO of a bunch of shit, created her own entertainment conglomerate. And this is less qualified than Paul Levesque McMahon, who, by the way, is a pro wrestler. That's it. Married the boss's daughter and got all of these suit and tie positions. Good for him. That's not even shade. But to say that Paul Levesque McMahon deserves to be above these two with a company that is now formed not just about pro wrestling. I'm just trying to let you guys see how this decision was made business-wise. This wasn't like Vince got into a meeting with Ari and a few others and said, now what I gotta sabotage my son-in-law. He's a doofus son-in-law. He's such a doofus. He'll bring it all down. Vince is not saying that, man. I highly doubt he got in a room and just sabotaged his son-in-law. It's business. You have to pick the people that are going to bring in the best amount of income for you. Make the best decisions. Be there for all the answers to the questions that need to be answered. The board is crucial. You just can't have Paul Levesque McMahon in there trying to learn on the fly because his father-in-law is Vince and he's married to the boss's daughter. He's gotten the world, guys. This guy got to play Vince McMahon, his hero, in NXT. Dusty created NXT. They were all known as Dusty's kids. You can look it up. You can learn all about it. They were Dusty's kids, not Paul Levesque's. Vince McMahon paid every single dime and never made a penny from NXT. Never. But Vince McMahon kept footing the bill. And all Paul Levesque McMahon had to do was fly out on the company jet to every show and give those hoorah speeches and act like Papa H. That's it. And that's not shade. Good for him, man. And then he got a seat at the board. Good for you, bro. He's a multi-millionaire personified. He'll never have to work a 9 to 5 in his lifetime. His kids will never have to worry about cash, and that is awesome. That's not even shade. That is great. I don't understand why everybody looks at this dude like he's such a victim that is being sabotaged, that can never leave the company. He's a grown man. He can leave at any time. He made enough money for 10 lifetimes. He's set. And you heard what he said after SummerSlam. Loves Vince McMahon. He is still the best, biggest genius in pro wrestling today. You'd be silly not to go to him still to this day for thoughts, ideas, and counsel. That's what Paul Levesque McMahon said. After all the reports that they were holding an intervention to get him out, there's a war, Paul Levesque is so miserable. And then people still go, well, basically, he's going to say that, obviously. He's not going to just throw his father-in-law under the bus. Did you listen to his words, how he said it? He loves Vince McMahon. That's his hero. If a dude tells you enough times that he loves the dude, then maybe he just loves the dude. That's his hero. He wants to emulate. He wants to be like him. Vince McMahon is that dude for Paul Levesque McMahon. I don't understand what is so hard to believe. And you're at a juncture where this business decision had to be made, man. You're TKO now. You only have 5 spots. You know Nick's got to be one. You know Vince is obviously the lead one. You have 3 left. 2 go to big-time CEOs of many conglomerates in the past. And the last one, I'm sure they're going to try to fill that seat with somebody just like Stephen Coonan and Nancy Tellem. Because a Paul Levesque McMahon on your TKO board is a weakened board. So when you flip it, this is actually best for business if you're WWE, especially if you really want Paul Levesque to start running everything. Well, there you go. This is done, and they've already made this statement, Endeavor. This is done so that Paul Levesque McMahon can concentrate on WWE, which is what he's always been doing. That does not change, guys. It's just WWE no longer has their own board. It's now TKO because of the merger. So a lot of people have to lose your seat. Paul Levesque was one of them. Why would Paul Levesque McMahon remain? Because he's married to the boss's daughter? Because he put in a couple years of black and gold thanks to Dusty and Vince? I'm trying to understand why Paul Levesque deserves the world. Why he should be overseeing UFC business ventures now. And everything else that Endeavor is already into and going to be into. Paul Levesque over these people who are established in the business world? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing how Paul Levesque would do better work than Stephen Coonan. Or Nancy Tellem. And you know what? That third seat, even though it's one of Vince's cronies, George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, business-wise, they are actually way better than Paul Levesque McMahon. If this was just WWE, I hear ya. If it's just WWE, I don't see reason to remove him unless there's somebody that's just much better for the job and wants it. But it's not. And I don't think people understand. This is business. They only have 5 seats. Why would Paul Levesque McMahon be on a TKO board? I never even thought that, man. I knew they were going to have limited seats. I thought 4 to 6, and I never even thought that Paul Levesque McMahon would be one of them. Now, there is 1 seat left. Miracle could happen, and he does get that seat, in which case, again, everything would have to change for him in WWE then. And his focus would no longer be on WWE. So anybody thinking that Paul Levesque is going to save WWE, by the way, and that's okay if you think that. I'm not even... That's a separate issue. If you think that, that's fine. You do realize if he was going to be on this board, he would not be chief content creative officer and he wouldn't be overseeing WWE as much as he even is today. You think Vince McMahon is stepping on his every move. Well, you can just say bye to everything Paul Levesque McMahon has been doing. Because now everything shifts focus-wise. So if you really want to see Paul Levesque McMahon get more keys to the kingdom, you're going to want him off this board. And this will be best for WWE and Paul Levesque McMahon if that's the case. So, to wrap this up with a bow and a cherry on top, or I don't know if it's a bow that's a present. I don't know why you would put a cherry on a present. But if it's a sundae, you'd put the cherry on top. If it's a present, you just tie it up in a bow. Either way, we'll put the bow, we'll put the cherry where it belongs, and we'll wrap this discussion up. You don't have to worry for Triple H or cry for him or think that he was sabotaged. Don't worry, guys. This is not WWE's board that he was removed from. They start a new board, it's TKO, and he just wasn't invited to the table. Nor should he have been. It's business. I never even thought Paul Levesque McMahon for one of those 4 to 6 seats. Same reason I say Dana White. Right? You look at these, I'll give you the list, and you're not going to see Dana White. Vincent Kennedy, these are the 11. There's 10, and there's one to be named by WWE. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Ariel Emanuel for Endeavor. Vince McMahon for WWE. Ariel Emanuel for Endeavor. Egon Durbin for Endeavor, who's the right-hand man for Ariel. Nick Khan from WWE, the right-hand man for Vince. Those are the first 4. Then Stephen Coonan and Nancy Tellum from WWE. Jonathan Kraft and Sonia Medina for Endeavor. And then Kerry Wheeler from Endeavor. Mark Shapiro from Endeavor. Those are the picks. So when I say Endeavor, those are Endeavor's picks. When I say WWE, it's their pick. And that's your list of 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and one to be named at a later date for WWE's pick. You realize you don't see Dana White. Well, guys, you don't see Dana White because Dana White, probably he'll tell you he doesn't want to oversee WWE's business venture and everything else that Endeavor is doing. He just wants to focus on UFC. Dana White knows this. I bet you Dana White doesn't even want this. But I also think he wasn't even proposed for it, but could have been. But you're not going to see Dana White. Dana White wants to focus on his UFC and side business ventures that don't really have anything to do with Endeavor, just his passions, his projects. And he knows that. And they know that. It would be a bad mix. Paul Levesque should be focusing on WWE. Pro wrestling is his wheelhouse. Stay there. And for those that want less Vince on the shows and more Paul Levesque, you should be throwing a parade. Because once this thing starts up, Vince McMahon is now on the board for TKO. Vince McMahon's focus will be a lot less on WWE's product. I can speak. I assure you. A lot less. You say, well, BC, he'll still have some fingers in the cookie, sometimes a whole hand, maybe both hands in the cookie jar, possibly. But the focus will be a lot less because when you are on a board, that's going to be the sides, the conglomerates that they're going to have to oversee. Your focus, your attention is going to have to be every which way, man. And it's going to be a lot less on WWE. So you should be throwing a parade. Because once this starts up, end of next month, man. You wanted less Vince, more H. You got it. And remember what I said, man. That's not going to be... I don't think H is the savior for WWE. Just like I said, Phil CM Punk Brooks is not the savior for AEW. I was right about that. The ratings will tell you that. And for WWE, you already see a lot of areas where Paul Levesque McMahon fails at. He's good at some stuff. He's much better at Vince at a lot of stuff. Yes. And a lot of stuff he just fails miserably. He just doesn't grasp. He doesn't do well. Some of those things he's worse than Vince at. And that's the guy who's supposed to take WWE to the promised land. I hope it does work out. End of next month, you're going to start seeing a lot more of Paul Levesque. This is what a lot of you guys wanted. And now we're going to cry because he's not on the board of directors for TKO, which would have removed his focus from WWE. Hope you guys understand. We can go another hour. I have so much reading I was going to do. So many paragraphs just so you guys understand the business and how this works when this merger comes to a close next month and finalizes. But it's not even worth it. I believe we've already went a half an hour-ish on this one topic alone. We'll discuss it more as we go on. But Paul Levesque McMahon is just fine. He's waking up with a smile and a bank full of money and a beautiful fam, and he's good. Paul Levesque McMahon is going to work. He can't wait to talk to Vince McMahon, either on the phone or a Skype or a Zoom or you know it. He wants to tell him how much he loves him, and he's going to do really good today. Paul Levesque McMahon is good. He's going to continue his role in WWE like he was. There's no more WWE board. It's different. And you just don't get grandfathered in. You got to be picked, just like Nick Khan and Vince McMahon picked by Ari up front to be such. But you don't get grandfathered in, man. Especially when your career tagline throughout your decades was wrestler. Well, just because you're a wrestler doesn't put you on TKO's board. Be happy you got all these suit and tie jobs so fast in your career and you're where you are right now? Because you married the boss's daughter. Good for you. That does not give you a seat at the table of Endeavor. That's the topic there. Everybody relax. Paul Levesque McMahon is fine. He's going to oversee WWE just fine. We hope. Moving on with what little coffee I have left. Literally. I'm breaking one sip into like 3 different sips. Unreal. Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, we are getting word that Bray Wyatt is close to returning. I don't put any expectations on this return, and I don't even think about it too much. And this is a big Bray Wyatt channel. We love Bray Wyatt on this channel. I want the best for the dude. I can't wait to see him back. He's entertaining to the most amplified of measures on this channel for BC and a lot of you guys. Just wildly entertaining. But I've seen him come and go so often. There's been so many issues and situations that went awry that I just don't want to put any expectations or too much thought in his return. I want it to happen organically when the time is right, and I hope it's for the best for everybody. I hope it is a badass return. It is lengthy with a lot of fun for the future for Bray Wyatt and all of us. But apparently he was dealing with not just an injury or a health scare, but apparently this was a very severe career and life-threatening health scare that he had, that he's trying to come back from. So a lot of people just thought, just being asinine, just started saying, oh, he probably left just because of Vince McMahon, right? Everything's Vince's fault. If it rains on your way into the supermarket, that's Vince McMahon. If your hot dog got cold in 30 seconds from 7-Eleven, it was Vince McMahon that cooled it off. If you ordered the hot coffee and you got an iced coffee, it's not the barista. It's Vince McMahon. It's Vince for everything. So Bray Wyatt takes off and they thought it was just, it's got to be Vince. Well, now we're getting word that no, this was a very, very scary situation for Bray Wyatt health-wise. And he had to take care of that. Looks like he's better. A return could be imminent. And I hope that they have that whole health scare in the past, man. Or at least identified it, know what the issue is, and have it under control. Because Bray Wyatt is one of those dudes that his absence, you really feel that on these shows. They're so fun. And everybody that bashes his segments, guys, what are you bashing? On a 3-hour Raw, you got a 90-second Firefly Funhouse. Was that really what made Raw horrible? No. The fact that you were talking about the Firefly Funhouse, 90 seconds of it, or 60 seconds of it. The fact that you're talking about Ramblin' Rabbit and Huskus the Pig more than the other 2 hours and 59 minutes on the show, that tells you how captivating Bray Wyatt is in everything he does. So he's been sorely missed. We can't wait to get him back. If these latest reports end up being ever so true, we hope that everything is taken care of and he's good to go. And I'm glad they took time on it. There was no rush to come back. And we hope the best for Bray Wyatt, man. This is a pro-Bray channel. We can't wait to have him back, but we ain't going to get too excited yet. We're going to let the natural progression take its course. To Bray Wyatt, salute. I'd give you a big swig, Bray. Wyndham Rotunda, but I don't have the coffee. I have like half a sip. And I might need that in a little bit. But Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, man, much love and respect from everybody here at the Amplified Unit and this channel. Right over to you and yours, especially your beautiful, one of the most beautiful ladies in the world, and I mean this, his beautiful wife, JoJo Offerman. Wow. Rotunda. JoJo. No matter what, Wyndham Rotunda scored in life, man. Bray Wyatt, massive W with JoJo. Anyway, that's the injury front health scare with Bray Wyatt. Now, big injuries here. One of these dudes, I literally mean big. The other is massive for other reasons. But 2 big injuries, and this has just been a laundry list of injuries. It is a damn CVS receipt how long this injury list is. Kevin Owens, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, storyline now, but there was that little injury that she did have. Probably still keeping her out, actually. It could be. Sonya Deville, Roman Reigns. Guys, that's just some names. There are so many injuries. You're talking big. Kevin Owens is one of your tag team title holders. Roman Reigns is your Universal Champion. Liv Morgan and Raquel were just your tag title holders, and they both are out. You have Sonya Deville, who is your tag team champion for the ladies. She's out. And now 2 more names you can add to the list. The first, Sami Zayn. Think about that. Kevin Owens, his tag team partner, is already out. Now Zayn has an injury, an elbow injury. Apparently, that is the big reason he was kept out of that match this past Monday, and we don't know if it's not severe enough that he can wrestle in the upcoming few weeks or leading into like Payback. I think that's the next pay-per-view, is it not? Or is that in September? Or whatever the next pay-per-view. Who knows if Sami Zayn... Kevin Owens won't be there. So is Sami Zayn going to be in some weird 6-man tag, even if he can go? If not, because Kevin is out, maybe they just rest up Sami Zayn. Heal him up. Kevin's out anyway. Maybe nobody will notice that you have tag titles and you're not defending them. Hey, Rhea Ripley had like 1 or 2 title defenses in like 4 months since Mania. Natty Neidhart is the only one I remember. Maybe Zelina Vega. Might have been Zelina. What was that, Backlash? Puerto Rico? Maybe 2 defenses in like 4 months. Roman Reigns, 1 defense since WrestleMania. Jey Uso, and that was just last Saturday. I mean, this guy went on a 2-month vacation with the title. So it's nothing new in WWE if they just let Sami Zayn just take time to heal that elbow even more than he needs. But the fact that both your tag team champions are now on the injured list, that's bad. And on the women front, 1/2 of your tag title holders is injured. And that one's long-term. They're going to have to vacate those titles, have a stupid tournament, battle royal, some shit, to get those titles off of Sonya and Chelsea. And you got to feel bad for Chelsea, man. She really, really enjoyed winning those titles, man. She posted that everywhere. Her man, what was his name? Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder. He actually wore the women's title or a replica, some shit, to his matches. He was so proud of his girl. And here they are already being stripped away. But that's the curse of the tag team titles. And it's with the men, too. The women is one thing. That's its own curse. The men, the tag team titles in a division that is non-existent anyway, it's almost like you're doomed to fail. It's almost like if WWE tells you you're about to win the tag titles, you may want to scream no and run the other way. Hope they don't run after you and try to fucking tell you that's what's happening. I heard nothing. Ah! And just run. Because you don't want to win these tag titles. The main event of WrestleMania. Owens, Zayn, Crowd Electric. What a moment. What do they have next? Nothing. Every Monday night, they're in a 6-man tag. They're tagging up with Sethington. They're tagging up with Flip Flops Flanagan, Matthew P.H. Riddle. They're tagging up with Cody Rhodes. They're versus Imperium. They're versus Judgment Day. They're versus 2 out of 3 of Judgment Day. Damian and Dominic. Then they switch out Damian. They put Dominic and Balor. So take out Dominic, and it's Balor and Damian. Every week, 6-man tags. Nobody wants to wait 3 hours to watch a 6-man tag that nobody cares about. There's no cliffhanger. It doesn't lead to anything. You're just seeing 6 dudes wrestle to end a 3-hour primetime show. Wow, thank goodness I saw that wrestling match at 11 o'clock at night. Nothing better you could have been doing. Sami Zayn injured is what we are hearing. Now, the other big injury, when I say big, I mean big. Brockton Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, just like Roman. This is what we're hearing. I want to find more about, but there's been a couple of reputable reports that back up the initial report, so I feel comfortable saying this. And we just talked about Brock yesterday. The initial reports before we even found out there was an injury had Brock returning around Rumble to set up Philadelphia's WrestleMania 40. BC heard totally different. He will be in Saudi Arabia. The plan for Brock was always to be in Saudi Arabia for their November 4th event. And that's a big $1 million payday for Brock. So I'm going to believe that report way before I believe he's gone till Royal Rumble. But now there's been a little wrench into those plans. A little bit of an injury. We don't know exactly what as of the recording of this podcast, but an injury to Brockton Lesnar early in the match with Cody Rhodes. And this dude's such a dog, such a horse, such a warrior that he finished that match. You didn't even know he was injured. You just thought he was selling like Brock always knows how to sell properly. Brock Lesnar is just really good at this wrestling thing. The way he takes the Cody cutter like he's a cruiserweight. The way he sells like he's been doing this for 77 years. Like Brock Lesnar has been in this business for 185 years, you would think. That's how good Brock Lesnar is at everything he does in this wrestling game. So you didn't even know he was injured. Roman Reigns, to his credit, you really didn't know he got an injury earlier in the match because he sold prop. You felt the pace was slower than usual, but that's how a lot of Roman matches are. Then they pick up at the end, which this one did at SummerSlam with Jey Uso. So you didn't think too much of it. Then you find out Roman got injured. And we still don't really have the deets on that either. But for Brockton Lesnar, man, to finish that match the way he did, interesting. Interesting to see if Brock Lesnar is going to let this come between him and $1 million payday. I'm telling you guys, man, no matter how severe we find out this injury is, don't be shocked if you see Brock Lesnar show up in November on the 4th in Saudi Arabia and collecting that $1 million. And if you think somebody is going to not clear him, Brock Lesnar is going to find a way to compete in Saudi Arabia. This guy doesn't have to follow the normal rules. Just like the juice. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. He doesn't have to follow that. Brockton still takes a lot of things today, and he doesn't have to get the same kind of testing. If you know, you know. And he doesn't have to, he does his own thing. And even Paul Levesque McMahon, after the SummerSlam in the media scrum, he said, man, Brock does his own thing. And I just sit back and I'm like, oh shit. Paul Levesque McMahon has no control over Brock. Vince barely had a little bit, but at least Vince had some. This dude is a walking renegade, and that's part of the reason we love the dude, right? And I like when he goes in the business for himself. I wish he didn't shake the hand of Cody, and Cody just smiled as Brock put his arm up because, I mean, he broke your arm 17 times throughout the summer. Why not sell that a little bit after the match, and not just now you're friends and you have respect? Because it doesn't go with what was happening over the last 4 months. But that's another story, man. Brock does what he wants in the moment. Don't be shocked if he shows up, no matter what we find out this injury is, shows up in Saudi Arabia in November. But that is a big injury. First, your tag team title holder. The second one in the team, Kevin Owens, was already injured. Now Sami Zayn with an elbow injury. And then Brock Lesnar. We'll try to find out more, of course. Moving on. We'll switch over to AEW, if you don't mind. Kenny Omega's all-in opponent. I can't say reveal because it's not confirmed, but there are some pretty reputable sources that are narrowing it down to one people. I think you kind of see the trajectory anyway on TV, but Kenny Omega taking on Takeshita. Take a shitta. I'm sorry, but we got to do it the MJF way. Take a shitta. Now, good talent, obviously. Some would call great talent. Some of his matches, absolutely captivating, no question. There's a portion of the audience, and I'm one of them. No BS. Never on this channel. I don't want to say expected. I expected nothing from All In, especially when there was no matches and just a few weeks away from the event. Now, of course, as of last week, we started to get more matches. This week, more. Now the card is shaping up. But it really started on the 200th episode of Dynamite last week. But because of that, you really didn't have expectations. It was they were just banking on just the crowd. The crowd is the star of the show. 70,000 plus fans in Wembley. That's the star. That's the main event throughout the night, right? The matches are the cherries and the nuts and the fudge on top of the sundae. So I didn't have expectations. But when Kenny Omega, and especially when I heard that he resigned, and I'm like, this is going to rejuvenate Kenny Omega. Man, I had so many possibilities, opponent-wise, for Kenny Omega on that stage. And to be completely honest with you, as I always am on this channel with you guys, Kenny Omega versus Take a Shitta is a Dynamite match. It's a Dynamite match. That's literally what... Didn't they already face... Or was that a six-man set? Regardless, it's a Dynamite match to me. All in. Omega to Sheta. I just don't... I don't think that's the best we could have done. I understand some people are going, are you kidding me? This is going to be amazing. All right, simmer down. I'm not going to shade how you feel on it, but simmer down. I mean, if you were going to tell me first time in the States, like Omega Ospreay, All In, first time. Okay, now we're talking, right? Or even the part, I mean, even their part 2 captivates me more. I don't know. That's a discussion that's just out there in the wrestling world. I thought I would let you guys know where we're going with Kenny Omega at All In, where it looks like we're going, and open up the discussion. Is that All In worthy? Or is that more like Full Gear worthy? Is that Full Gear? Is that 200th episode of Dynamite worthy, kind of, right? A Battle of the Belts type of deal. If Omega maybe had a belt, right? Maybe you put that on a special like that. I don't know, man. There's no right or wrong. You know, people that are really excited to see that match at All In, cool. There really isn't a right and wrong. It's not shade. It's just when I heard that, you guys know how much I get behind Kenny Omega's work. I'll say that. Kenny Omega is just a really good wrestler. Like how I view AJ Styles, I view wrestlers in different capacities, right? Because they check off certain boxes. Some check off every box. But I just think that Kenny Omega is just really good at what he does. So, again, it's not an expectation. I just wish we were getting a little... I wish. For me, right? I'll just say that... For me... I'll speak for some of you guys, too, that feel the same way. But for me, I wish we were getting a little bit more, a bigger match for Kenny Omega at All In. I'll just leave it at that, because now I'm just running in circles. I'm just trying to think, we could have done a little bit more. It'll be good, though, obviously. It's Kenny Omega, man. And take a shitta. Of course, they're going to put on a good match. I hope that crowd doesn't get wrestled out. You got to be careful because you're going to get Adam Cole, MJF, and then you're getting Young Bucks and FTR, and there's going to be all these really good wrestling matches, which is great on a wrestling show. What a concept. But what happens a lot on those shows is the crowd will get drained because they'll be doing, this is awesome, fight for it, and they'll do it the whole 4 hours. And you're going to see like a lot of like lull periods where they have to regroup big time. And it's unfortunate because some of these matches, all of them could be really good. But 2 or 3 of those matches are going to have to be the down. You're going to get the downside of the awesome matches. You're going to get the downside effect. 2 or 3 of those matches are going to have crickets. And you're going to be like, it was a good match, I thought. Yeah, but the crowd was drained, man. We'll see. Sticking with AEW, this week's Dynamite rating, I do have it for you guys. 846,000. They did not hit their new top tier niche, which unfortunately dropped 100,000 viewers. Their old school top tier was 950. Their new top tier is about 850, which was the bottom tier of their top tier audience. I hope that makes sense. Let me put this simpler. 950 is basically their normal for many months. 950. They could not hit that million. They were so close. 950 for months. The good news is they never really dipped either. They were roughly around there. 960 some odd, 930, around 950. And then over the last several months, we started to see something happen where they dipped. Their new normal is around 850. But last week, they actually pulled 894,000. I think that was the 200th episode of Dynamite. And all the big announcements for All In that Tony Khan promised. A lot of people thought it was going to pull a milli because of all that. I said not so fast. They pulled 894. So now we're closer. All those matches are announced. Storylines picked up. Or at least you would hope they would. So you think the audience would go up a little bit more as we get closer to All In and All Out, right? All In is in 16 days. All Out, 20 some odd. A week later from All In. So 2 big, massive pay-per-views for AEW coming up in just a few weeks. A little over a couple of weeks. And you went down 48,000 viewers to 846 from last week. You don't want to go down by tens of thousands as you get closer to the pay-per-view. You're filling up Wembley. That is awesome. The interest everywhere else, statewide anyway, stateside, is diminishing. You want to bulk. I say the same thing about WWE. As you get closer to a big pay-per-view especially, you want to go up. You're supposed to be building the intrigue with your audience. But guys, the 846 is not the most alarming thing. Again, I've been telling you guys for months, 850 is their new normal. Give or take a few weeks, a few 10,000 here, a few 10,000 here. 846 is exactly where they sit at now, 850. So the 846 this week doesn't concern me. Compared to last week's 894 in the 48,000 viewer loss. That doesn't concern me more than last year's rating for this exact week of Dynamite. If you look at year over year, the August 10th, 2022 edition of Dynamite, the same Dynamite this week for last year, they pulled 972,000 viewers. Remember I told you guys, for a long time, their normal, their top tier niche was 950. So this was that and a little bit more, 972 last year this week. 972. Now you go a year later with two big pay-per-views a couple weeks away, and they pulled 846. Now if you do your Steiner math, Dynamite lost 126,000 viewers from last year's Dynamite this week. Last year, 972. This year, 846. They lost 126,000 viewers from last year to this year. That's what's more alarming. And that's something that you can't have. Your year over year, you really want to bulk that. Because you want to see as a company that you are getting better. You are, even if it's slowly but surely, you are climbing the mountain. You're not falling down it. You're climbing it. You're going upwards, right? You're gaining success. No matter how slowly but surely it is, you're gaining success. And people are enjoying your product. You're doing good work. You don't want to see it go down 126,000 when you got two major pay-per-views coming up in a couple weeks. That's what's more concerning, and I know that's what Tony Khan's looking at. And it's been a while since we've seen Tony Khan brag about the ratings. Usually, if they hit 1 million, you see Tony Khan first thing on Thursday morning. He's pumped up. He's thanking everybody for hitting 1 million. And it's funny because then you have the fans when people say, "Oh no, they didn't hit 1 million," and then you have fans go, "Oh, is that a magic number now? Why does everybody care?" Because the owner, guys, on Thursday morning, the first thing he does is he goes and he posts how they hit 1 million. Literally, he'll say the word, we hit 1 million. Thank you to all you guys for making AEW number one in this, and this. The owner of the company does that. Your boss of AEW. So, of course, people are going to go, okay, well, where's the post? Oh, wait, they didn't even come close to it. That's concerning, is it not, Tony? And then everybody's going, well, ratings don't matter. Well, tell the AEW boss that. Well, it only matters if you're in the business. Then why is he putting up the post publicly and telling everybody, thank you, and this is the number we got, and we're number one? He wants you to be a part of the ratings process. He wants you to have a parade and bask in their success. Well, then you got to talk about the failures so that we can see those type of successes again. And perhaps more alarming for Tony Khan, not to pile it on, but this is even more concerning for him. NXT this week had their best viewership in 2 years, 776,000 viewers. 776,000 for the fourth consecutive week. They've been over 700,000. Guys, 776. Do you guys realize now, what is the Steiner math? I don't have it in front of me, but 776, 24 to 8, right? 776, 24,000 reaches 8, and then 46 on top of the 24. What is that? What'd I say? 46 on top of 24. What is that? 50. 70,000. They are 70,000 viewers away from surpassing, let's say 70 to tie, 71,000 viewers away from passing Dynamite. It wasn't long ago before Tony Khan said we're in a real war with WWE and our fans love it and we're coming for Raw and SmackDown and we're going to try to compete. Well, we are competing already. It's already a war. I mean, these were big words, and NXT, guys, is closing in on beating Dynamite. I understand it's a Saturday night for Collision, but NXT is on its way to doubling Collision. Collision was just over 400. NXT is 24,000 away from clinching 800,000. That's a show with CM Punk, Phil Brooks. We were told one of the most polarizing, one of the biggest stars still today in pro wrestling. NXT is about to double that rating. And about to eclipse Dynamite. Monday Night Raw is now over 1 million viewers more than Dynamite, and SmackDown more than 1.5 million viewers. Something that they're doing, many things they're doing, guys. I'm saying this so we can get more excitement for All In, and then coming out of All In into All Out, and then going into the holidays, we want to see AEW truly compete with WWE. It's not going to happen unless you're being real. There's many things that are not clicking and working with this company that is pulling in viewers. And even their own tried and true diehard fans are turning away. That's why numbers matter. No more FOMO, no fear of missing out when they miss a Dynamite or 2 or 3, and then they're like, you know what? I didn't feel anything. I can miss a Wednesday night and do other things, and I don't feel like I missed out. That's a problem. We saw that with Monday Night Raw for more than 5 years, and that's how they got into this hole where there's no Monday Night Football opposition, and they still can't hit 2 million viewers. What do you think's going to happen when football's back? Think they're easily going to stroll into 2.2, 2.3s? Especially with holidays around? This is why we say what we say. It's not throwing a company under the bus. We're raising the flag to say, hey, these are the issues. The good news is they're easily correctable. Let's get on it now so that we can start build the process, or at least begin the process to build. But these numbers, man, for AEW Dynamite, highly alarming getting this close to 2 big events like that. Guys, we went very long, so what I'm going to do, let me see the 2 other stories I have. I don't know if this is going to be, yeah, it's too long. Yeah, and we're already over an hour now. Well, either way, guys, let me go over the Super Chat Super Thankses from yesterday's podcast. We broke down Brock's contract, his next dates, before we even knew that there was some type of injury. But I'm going to keep that report just as is. I still think you're going to see Brock in Saudi Arabia. I don't see how he's missing that $1 million payday. And we also talked Roman Reigns' injury. We also talked AEW. They're not sitting back in November while WWE holds 2 big events, Survivor Series and their big Saudi Arabia event at the beginning of November. No, AEW, Tony Boss said, hold my coffee. And AEW is going to fight back in November. And we talk all about that in that podcast. But also in that podcast, there was a lot of call fees being thrown at the channel. So I want to make sure that we give the proper shout outs. And if I can get the big screen up and going, I'll do just that. And by the way, we're going to go over JR9 Gaming's 11th edition of the Amplified NXT Roundup. So we don't do an NXT review, busy on Tuesday nights, and it doesn't hit 1 million in viewership yet. And I don't review wrestling shows unless they hit 1 million. But luckily, my right-hand man on the channel, JR9 Gaming, has us covered. So we're going to go over that as well. But before we do that, a big shout out to, what do you got here? Merge. What up, Merge? I appreciate it, man. And I lost the big screen. There it is. Merge. Great shows as usual. BC, salute. With all the units saying BC amped. Yeah. You caught me off guard there, but I had to get the voice going for you there. Merge, I appreciate it. I'd give you a big... I have no call. I have like a half a sip. That's going to be the final salute of this podcast. So I'd give you a big salute right back, man. I drank that really fast after the cold open. I don't know what... I really feel they're getting smaller, these coffees. Anyway, Merge, I appreciate it, man. Great shows as usual, BC. Salute. I appreciate the support, man. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, too. Lots to go over. Some of it not exactly what everybody would want to hear. I understand, but it's to make everything better. So I hope everybody understands that. Merge, appreciate it. That's super thanks in yesterday's podcast. Merge. Derek Fleming Jr. with a 2-spot. What a way to celebrate my birthday today with the Amp Man. Salute. Derek Fleming. Yesterday, I'm guessing then, was your birthday. Happy belated birthday, bro. Hopefully you're still celebrating, right? It's a whole week-long occasion. That's what I say. Make it a month, Derek Fleming Jr. I'd give you a massive salute like I told Merge. I don't have coffee. I did not plan well. It's like that sign. I brought this up a few podcasts ago. The sign that says plan ahead, and the D is like hanging off the sign because they didn't plan ahead with the writing. I didn't plan ahead with the coffee. I should have had another one on deck. But happy birthday, man, belated yesterday, Derek Fleming Jr. I appreciate the coffee, man, and I hope you had a kick-ass birthday. Wisdom of Charlie Grin. Wisdom. Haven't seen Wisdom in a minute. Salute, Wisdom. Again, I reiterate, I give you a proper salute if I could right now. Wisdom, good to see you up in here, man. 2-spot coffee. Hey, yo, BC, check it. I heard through the grapevine, Triple H got Das Boot. Being CEO, I don't know if it's a hoax, but it's something interesting that I saw. Yeah, well, he wasn't CEO, though. Vince McMahon was always the executive officer, but he was the chief content creative officer, and he did have a seat at the WWE Board of Directors table. But this is all new. This is totally different, Wisdom. So, yeah, Das Boot is what we're calling it, but it's a whole new board, and he just wasn't offered a seat at the table. So, if you look at it the real way, everybody got Das Boot from WWE's board because it no longer exists. So, yeah, but it is true. As of now, there is one spot still remaining, so Paul Levesque could get on it, but that wouldn't be best for business, especially if you want to see Paul Levesque control some part of WWE, because you think it would be better. Not you, Wisdom, but anybody who thinks Paul Levesque McMahon is best for business, then you don't want to see him have a board seat, because the focus will be off, and that means his role will have to shift anyway once he gets on the board. So you're not going to want that anyway, man. But Wisdom, yeah. Anyway, that's absolutely true. And as far as your brother and those issues, man, all the best, man. I did just read that. I appreciate you, man, and I hope that you can clear that up. Stay positive, stay amplified, bro. And the channel will be rocking out wrestling content. Hopefully, every now and again, stop in and I can entertain you. Take your dome piece off things, at least for a little bit during these podcasts. But stay positive, stay amplified, man. Stop by whenever, say what's up. We'll be doing this wrestling thing, man. This is it started as a hobby. It'll always be such. It's what we love to do. Talk pro wrestling, man. At weird times throughout the day. Many times. So who cares? It's what we love, man. So Wisdom, do what you got to do. It sucks we can't see you all the time up in the chats, but it's always good to see you. Wisdom. And Santivia Major. 5-spot coffee. Thanks, BC. Santivia, salute. Oh, well, by the way, Wisdom. As far as you might be working that new haunt attraction during Halloween season. Badass, man. I always love when Spirit Halloween start popping up. Horror Nights over in California and Orlando start popping off. I always love that. So congratulations if you do land that new position as well. Santivia Major, 5-spot coffee. Thanks, BC. You, the one, and all the others pale in comparison. I'm so proud to be a gold team member of the unit. Santivia, that's what I love to hear, man. First of all, Santivia, I love seeing your name up in the chats, always up on the channel, and I love seeing that gold card after the name. You say, thanks, BC, you the one and all the others pale in comparison. I'm so proud to be a gold team member of the unit. I honestly love seeing those gold cards. I love the channel member chats only because it's just gold card after gold card, and it's something just we created that's so epic. So, Santivia, I'm just as proud to have you as a channel member, gold team unit member. There, how's that? I'm reciprocating the same exact thought. I appreciate you, Santivia. The coffee is a bonus, never needed, always appreciated. But Santivia Major, I appreciate those words. Man, you guys are the best, man. I think I got JR9 Gaming queued up now. This is the 11th edition of JR9's Amplified NXT Roundup. JR9 says, I have to say this is the most uneventful show NXT has produced in years with many headache-inducing decisions. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. As the ratings keep going up, JR9 is slowly losing the NXT that he loved. That's what's happening here. Sure, the ratings, they're doing the cheap ratings ploy by sending in main roster talent, and they're trying to really bulk that up for the new TV rights deals. But what made NXT special to the core audience, they're losing that luster. And it's totally different, too, than AEW, right? That just has to appeal more to the casuals and such. Right, you notice nobody's saying, like, bring in more notable names, and that's what's going to appeal more to AEW. No, we're just saying storylines, right? Let the content progress better so that casual fans or laps can follow along more easy. Nobody's telling AEW to bring in Goldberg because it's a big name. Try to get Kevin Nash in as a manager of Dynamite or a GM. Nobody's saying that. Right? Just like in NXT, nobody's saying you need all these main roster talents to pull in a higher rating. The big thing with NXT is people just stopped giving it a chance. It was really weird. There was weeks where I'd watch and go, that was a good show, and it would be 550 in the rating. Anyway, JR9, that's just that's a side note that I wanted to talk about. But anyway, back to JR9's review. Firstly, JR9 says, I have a quick note on JC. She beat Carmen Petrovic, never even heard of this woman, who must be new. Oh, even JR9, okay, all right, I don't feel bad. Okay. In parentheses, JR9 said, who must be new, as I'm not familiar with the name. That's funny, man. I literally never heard of her. On NXT Level Up taping, which I thought would air after SmackDown this Friday, but it seems it was recorded for next week's edition. You hope. Or they're just using it literally as just a dark match. Glad she finally won, ending the losing streak from the June 23rd episode of Level Up versus Ivy Nile. It sucks it wasn't a victory on NXT TV and she was relegated to Level Up, the equivalent to the main roster's main event. But at this point, at least I'll actually get to watch her win a match for once. You and maybe 17 other people. I don't know how many people are watching Level Up, JR9. So you're very right when you say that's a small victory for JC. There's only one positive this week. Damn. Dragunov and Trick had a great segment setting up their match at NXT Heatwave in 2 weeks. Both sold the match perfectly, with Dragunov warning Trick about what will happen to him if he goes through with the match, while Trick refused to back down, as he wants to prove himself as more than a sidekick. Just love the storytelling going on with those two. Can I just give a side note on that? I really enjoyed Carmelo and Trick last week. And Trick telling Carmelo, I have to do this. I'm more than just a side chick. I didn't start side chick. Poor Trick. A sidekick. I just called the dude a side chick. Anyway, he's telling Carmelo, I didn't get into this than to be a sidekick. And Melo says, I never looked at you like that. And he looked at Melo and said, no, I know you don't, but everyone else does. So I really love that, because this is a dude that has this mission. He wants to show his buddy Carmelo and all of us that he is a worthy competitor, that he's on the same level of, or at least right there. But we know that's not the case. Melo's in a whole nother stratosphere. But he wants to try to prove himself. JR9, I only see this going one way. I love it too. I love the trajectory of both, the Dragunov and Trick, and what they're doing. I see this, especially because Dragunov just lost against Carmelo. I see Trick Williams just getting the shit beat out of him. Badly, in a way where Melo cannot really help him out during the beating. I think Dragunov really has to cement that statement. That's the only way I see that happening, JR9. Sorry, Trick, not sorry. Now for the negatives. Blair beat Kalani Jordan in a sloppy match due to Kalani's inexperience. But the main negative here, what the fuck is a Kalani? I'm reading the name. I'm trying to think about the individual. Kalani's inexperience, but the main negative here is post-match. They had Blair be chased off by Dana Brooke. Stop! Are you serious? Dana Brooke is chasing off females now. Like, that makes any sense. Blair is supposed to be a badass, but she's running for Dana. It's just nonsensical writing. What in the way? Dana Brooke is now scaring the locker room? Then backstage, Dana was trying to tell Kalani she needs to find killer instinct if she wants to succeed, as if Dana has any herself. Dana as a mentor makes no sense either, considering her career hasn't exactly been a success, plus her getting more TV time than Cora, Gigi, JC, Roxy, and even Tiffany, the champ, is unacceptable. I guess they think Dana is a big reason for the 776,000 ratings, Jeranon. Braun Breaker beat Von Wagner, but post-match, Von put Braun through a table, making him look very weak. Braun needs to leave NXT. This booking is horrendous and a waste of his talents. That makes no sense. See what I mean? There's 50-50 booking even if you win a match. There's instant 50-50 booking if you win and then you immediately get the shit kicked out of you. So when the show is over, nobody remembers you won the match. They just remember you were beaten up and thrown through a table. Now, Braun Breaker has lost match after match after match, and now he's put through a table after he finally wins a match. The only thing they're doing now by keeping Braun in NXT is they're devaluing him. They're diminishing his return on investment. They are weakening him to the point that when he debuts on the main roster, the JR9s, the BCs, and most of you guys, the Amplified unit, and we are a microcosm of the larger, the greater scale of the wrestling community. Most of us, we're not going to look at Braun Breaker as a badass. You know, there's people going, I want to see Braun versus Roman. I want to see Braun Breaker versus Brock Lesnar. I want to see Braun Breaker and Drew, Braun and Sheamus, Braun and Gunther. Not so fast. Braun Breaker at this stage in his career can barely beat Wesley. Or Axiom. At this point, if you told me Braun Breaker was going for the Heritage Cup, I probably wouldn't be shocked. It greatly aggravates me, JR9, how they're booking Braun Breaker. Just pull the damn trigger on this dude, put him up to the main roster. Tyler Bate, also in the negatives. Tyler Bate beat Dar, winning a fake version. Speaking of the Heritage Cup, that's funny, I just brought that up. Tyler Bate beat Dar, winning a fake version of the Heritage Cup, which in itself made Dar look awful, as he couldn't even keep his own replica. However, it got worse backstage as Tyler just gave the fake belt back to Dar after Dar admitted it wasn't the real one, rendering the match pointless. Nathan Frazier, the actual Heritage Cup holder, then set up a match with Dar in 2 weeks at Heatwave. They had a pretty good match the first time, didn't they? I think I was into that match. That should be pretty good. It was just a convoluted way of getting to Frazier versus Dar, which made Bate seem very secondary. And that's sad because every time I watch Bate, I think this dude's got the brightest of futures. Then they book him like that and the star gets dimmed. Moving on, Dom versus Dragon Lee was a waste of time with the most lazy finish possible. Rhea once again hitting Dragon with her title behind the ref's back, allowing Dom to retain. Identical finish to the West match. Dragon's loss means he has only won 1 of 7, 14% of his singles matches, and he only debuted just over 4 months ago, April 1st. Terrible stats for him. What I'll say about that, JR9, is that finish, Rhea's belt, winning it for Dom, that's the most action that Rhea Ripley's championship has had in months. I'll just say that. The Rhea Valkyria story got even worse, as now Val is claiming Rhea manipulated her to beat JC, which just didn't happen. Considering Rhea has been respectful to Val, acting as a mentor, which was awful in itself since Rhea is a heel, and unlike Balor with McDonuts, she has no connection to Val, so that wouldn't warrant this mentor role. Plus, this doesn't fit with what they've been failing to tell for weeks, as Val all of a sudden is against Rhea, attacking her after Dom's match, which goes completely against why she has a desire to beat JC last week, and we have already seen Rhea versus Val before, so there's no reason to do it again. And I'm giving up trying to make sense of this story. It gives me a headache every week. I truly believe HBK can't even remember anything as he has booked with, since all of the writing is that inconsistent with nothing adding up week to week. Easily the worst story this year. The last negative is for the ladies in general. There was only 2 matches lasting about 9 minutes last night, which was Tuesday night. That isn't good for a show that used to dedicate at least 30 to 40 minutes per show to the ladies during 2.0. Also, ever since Stratton got the title, the division has regressed. Not her fault, of course. It's simply down to the fact that HBK isn't putting the same effort into the reign as he once did with Mandy's and Roxy's. once making it feel so unimportant. Literally one show away from Heatwave, and Tiffany has no story or opponent, which is very concerning. After the weird Roxy collapse angle that didn't lead to anything, the division has been so lazily booked, especially regarding the world title, with so many lazy tournaments, ladder match qualifiers, and battle royals to determine contenders. NXT needs to return to the storytelling the ladies used to get, as that was the main reason why NXT was such a success for so long. Overall, this was a very boring and lackluster show that dragged on. Dragunov and Trick are carrying the show, but without any other stories, the show is failing to interest me right now. JR9 Gaming, you talk about a thorough review. There you go, from a dude that has given nothing but praise to NXT. Many NXT events that I was able to watch or made time for was because people like JR9 Gaming said, hey, this, and this is happening, BC. If you can catch any of it, try to. And I moved some things around, and every time I did, NXT was really good. It's sad to see what it is becoming. But it's clear that they're going to do anything imaginable right now to pump up the ratings so they can go to the negotiating table with Comcast Universal, NBC, they run USA Network, and they're going to try to get a big fees increase for their next TV deal. And then they won't care what's happening with NXT. They'll already have a ship ton of money. A new ship has come to the dock, and it's carrying nothing but cash. For Endeavor, no longer WWE. We now have to get used to saying for Endeavor. Guys, you're the best. The Amplified, man. Until next time, and there will be a next time, BC signing off. SmackDown is tonight, so the next time is going to be literally within the next 24 hours. We have the SmackDown review. That could be audio format only. A lot of traveling coming up, but you will get a review. So until next time, and there will be a next time. Top Guy, I'm out. BC, I saved the last half of the swig. Salute, BC, saying check you. Peace.